Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marisa Kazem and today I'm going to be showing you my January setup in my bullet journal. So first of all, I just want to say that I am so sorry with how late this video is. I know that January is almost over and I wish I had a good explanation for why this took me so long, but I honestly don't. I ended up filming it around the same amount of hours that I normally do, but I just took so many more days to get it done, and then the editing took me forever, and there have been a lot of birthdays and things this month, and I'm also applying for jobs, and so I've literally run out of time and it's the end of the month, and I haven't used my January setup at all. So this setup is completely for you guys just to watch. It's probably going to be left completely blank in my journal because now I need to start setting up for February. But anyway, I know that you guys have been so eager to know what my entire 2023 theme is going to be for my bullet journal setup, and I have decided to go with Disney female characters that I think should be classified as official Disney princesses, but they're not either because their movie didn't make enough money or because their movie made too much money. So for the month of January, I decided to go with Encanto. I really loved this movie and I just love all of the colors, and I thought it would be a really fun, colorful way to begin the year. And I also know that a lot of people love Encanto, so I thought maybe you guys would want to see me do an Encanto setup. Now here's the thing, I don't actually think any of the characters in Encanto should be classified as princesses because they are not royalty, but they are treated kind of like a royal family, and I feel like they could kind of become one. I mean, it seems like they don't work. Like, tell me, do the Madrigals have jobs? It seems like they just exist in their homes and then they use their powers to help the people in the village, and that's kind of what royalty do. They don't actually have jobs, they just help people. Well, maybe they used to, I mean, not so much nowadays, but you know what I mean, like that's the intention of a royal family. And the Madrigals kind of behave like a royal family, and I really love all of the female characters. Obviously I love like all of the characters in general, but I just love my princessy type of characters. And yeah, I would say Luisa is probably my favorite Madrigal. She is so funny and I would love to see a whole movie just about Luisa. I know I shouldn't say this, but Mirabel was kind of annoying. Like, I don't know why, she just bothered me a little bit. But I still like her. If I don't like anyone, the person I don't like is Abuela, because Abuela is just like mean to everyone. But you know, yeah. Anyway, so I feel like they could be kind of classified as a royal family and princesses, but I know that they never will be because clearly the Encanto franchise is extremely successful, and I'm sure their movie has made way too much money to ever consider them as princesses. Also, if you're thinking that the Madrigal family can never be considered a royal family simply because they're not actually royal, Disney clearly does not follow that rule because Mulan is considered a Disney princess and she is a commoner and she marries a general of an army. And so she's not a princess at all, but Disney classifies her as an official Disney princess, and she was classified as an official Disney princess way before they actually saw if her movie would make enough money. They just immediately made Mulan a princess. So I don't see why all of the characters that I will be drawing this year can't be considered Disney princesses as well. Also, in celebration of my theme for the entire year, please comment down below your favorite Disney female character that's not an official Disney princess, but you think she should be one. So anyway, I will finally talk about my cover page, which is obviously the Madrigal home. I don't know if it's got a different name other than Casita, but you know, they call it Casita. And this took me probably 5 hours to paint, and I didn't expect it to. I thought it was going to be really simple, and then it just took me forever. I really like how the flowers turned out and the palm trees. I painted the palm trees the exact same way as I did in my Moana setup, so if you want to see that, I will link it somewhere here. I think I did it a bit slower in that setup, so it's easier to see. But yeah, I just basically transferred the image as usual. If you haven't seen my transferring video, I will also link that somewhere so that you can see how I do it, because if I were to show you all in one go in one video, it would take way too long. But yeah, this house was really fun to paint. I love all the colors. I would have to say my favorite room is either Isabella's or Antonio's. I love like nature inspired stuff, and you know, the nature in both of their rooms is amazing. I mean, Isabella's is literally just flowers and there's actually walls and a bed. So like, she is kind of just in a regular room that's covered in flowers, but it seems like she could potentially make her room different with how much she's able to grow like plants now. So it's very interesting. But yeah, Antonio's room was beautiful. I loved his room and his whole reveal. And Bruno's room is literally the worst. I 100% agree with Mirabel. That room, very interesting, but would not want to live in a pile of sand and caves. Like, did Bruno not need a bed? Like an actual bed to sleep in? Like, I don't understand. Did he just curl up in his cave and just camp out? Like, I don't understand. Let me know in the comments which Madrigal bedroom was your favorite out of the ones we've seen, and which Madrigal bedroom are you dying to see, because we didn't get to see Camilo's or Luisa's. Who else? I'm pretty sure there's someone else. We didn't really see Peppa's. We saw like a hint of Peppa's room, but it looked way too normal to be like her entire bedroom. So yeah, let me know all of your favorite rooms and which ones you want to see, because I am curious too. Also, so if you have been following my previous year of setups where I did Disney princesses, you'll know that I said I didn't want to draw the princesses in each setup, and I tried to focus on all of the elements in the films rather than just drawing the princess over and over again. And I am now going to be more flexible with that rule. I will paint characters when I feel like it's necessary, but otherwise I will leave a character out if I don't necessarily need to draw them. But for Encanto, I decided to draw the characters simply because how are you supposed to signify all of these people without drawing them? Also because I could technically just paint the different bedrooms, but we don't get to see Peppa or Dolores or, you know, all of the other bedrooms. We don't get to see them. And I just decided to draw the characters that I really liked. I actually basically drew every single character that has a power except for Camilo, because I didn't have enough spreads and his power is my least favorite power, so didn't end up drawing him. But for this calendar spread, I wanted to draw Mirabel on the calendar because she's definitely the main central character of the movie, but I didn't know how to draw her. I didn't want to just put her in her boring little room, and I didn't want to draw Casita all over again, and I didn't want to draw just her either. I thought for the calendar I should go a little bit more extra, so I decided to draw her singing at Abuela's door. I mean, she might not be singing. The screenshot that I used from the film, she was singing in this scene, but I mean, here she could just be looking at Abuela's bedroom door and, you know, longing to be able to be accepted by Abuela, and I thought that would be really good for the calendar page, because this is basically what the entire movie is about. It's about Mirabel not being accepted and how she really wants to be treated as part of the family despite the fact that she doesn't have any powers. Painting Abuela's door was kind of difficult, but I ended up figuring it out. Like, I couldn't make it look as glowy as I wanted to. I ended up painting like a lot more of a darker yellow than I wanted, and then like the brown from the wood of the door I feel like just took up too much space, but it still looks like Abuela. It's clearly one of the doors, so I ended up being okay with it. Also, the bar going across the bottom of the spread is meant to be the railing inside of Casita, there was like a blue railing, and I feel like with the way we're looking at this, the railing would be there, so that's why I drew it in. I feel like it looks a little bit weird now, but I wanted it to feel as if you're in the home, and if you were maybe on the other side of the, I don't know what to call it, like the outdoor, indoor room. Like if you're on the other side and you're looking straight ahead at Abuela's room, you would see the bar in the way, like the banister. So that's why I decided to paint it in. I feel like that was a really overcomplicated explanation of why I painted that, but whatever. I am recording this at 11:30 at night, so I'm sorry that this is such a mess and this video is coming out late, but I hope you guys enjoy. Which reminds me, if you are enjoying this video so far, go ahead and subscribe, ring the bell, and like this video. I have so many fun videos planned for this year that are bullet journaling, that are reading content, and reading journal as well. I need to post my reading journal video for you guys because I am continuing in the same journal, but I want to show you guys what I'm doing. So yeah, subscribe if you want to see all of that as well. Also, so here you can see from Mirabel's skirt, I just took a white gel pen and I drew a design that looks similar to what's on her dress, and then I'm just coloring in the white pen with my Tombow dual brush pens, and later on in the rest of the setup I used watercolors over the white gel pen, and I basically just did that to create the design and make it look as if all of these patterns are on all of the characters' clothing, because this drawing is so small. I mean, look at how tiny they are compared to my hand, and if I were going to detail and outline what the pattern would look like and then try to fill it in watercolor, it would take me so long and it would be such a mess. So that is a trick that I do, and I feel like you could do this with anything. You could paint something with watercolor and then just do a design over it in white gel pen and it'll look really cool, and then you can add color over again. This is also something that I do to fix a lot of mistakes when I'm painting with watercolor in my journal, because if you just put white gel pen down and, you know, not too thick of a layer, but just a little bit, and then you paint over it with watercolor once the gel pen has dried, then it helps to disguise things, especially if you put a darker color down and you want to lighten it up. This is something that I do all the time and it works really well, so yeah. But for this setup, I mainly did that technique for all of the patterns on the clothing. And then I decided to add some hanging plants at the top of the page, because in the home, like above Abuela's drawer, there are a lot of hanging plants, and I felt like the page looked a little bit empty and I wanted it to look as if you're actually in the home, so I just thought I'd add those, and they came out really cute. I liked them. So for my next spread, this is my positivity log and mood tracker, and I absolutely adore how this turned out, and I'm really sad that I didn't get the chance to use it and actually fill it in. I might just color in the flowers anyway, just for fun, because I feel like it would look so cute with them filled in, and it definitely looks like it's missing that element. And this entire setup is blank in my journal because I just haven't had time to even edit my video, let alone fill in my journal every day. So I'm really sad about that, but I love this one. I love all of the pink and purple that we see with Isabella. I know that she doesn't like it. Like during her song, you know, she brings out the blue powders. There's like blue and yellow and black like all over her clothes, and that's clearly what she likes more, but I do still love her pink and purple stuff. Like I'm such a girly girl at heart, and I really love the colors, and I kind of love the whole perfect aspect about her. I mean, like, I know she hates it, and like it's terrible to think you have to be pressured to be perfect, but one of the things I like about Isabella is that I feel like she represents a lot of girls and women in society, because a lot of us feel pressured to be a certain way. Like, I feel like men, or just males in general, they do have more liberty to be themselves compared to women, and I'm sure a lot of people would argue that that's not true, but I think it is. I feel like women have much higher expectations on how we should be in terms of our presentation, especially. And I just love Isabella's message. I know she's like really mean to Mirabel, and it's kind of annoying, like you don't have to be that mean, but at the same time, like when they had their argument, it made so much sense because she is trying her hardest to be perfect for Abuela, and Mirabel is the exact opposite of perfect to Abuela. And so every time Mirabel got in the way, it would affect Isabella's ability to stay perfect and be perfect, and I don't think Isabella wanted Abuela angry at her, so it kind of makes sense, but it also makes me really sad because it just means that for many years, Isabella and Mirabel have had a really bad relationship, all based off of Abuela's disapproval of Mirabel. Like, if Abuela just treated Mirabel as an equal the entire time, then I don't think Isabella would have been so mean to Mirabel, and they would have had like a good friendship as sisters growing up. But there was so much pressure that it actually ruined their friendship or, you know, relationship as sisters. And that is really sad when you think about it. I mean, this Madrigal family literally has so many problems, and they all come from Abuela. And I mean, it also makes sense. I mean, Abuela did suffer a lot, like she did explain at the end of the movie. And no one's expecting Abuela to be perfect either. She's allowed to have her flaws, but it's just really sad that even her grandkids' lives are being affected because she has experienced so much grief and trauma and she doesn't know what to do with it. And yeah, it's just a really sad concept. Like, the movie was fun and musical and colorful, but when you think about the family and all of their problems, it's really sad what's going on. But I guess maybe that's one of the reasons why people love this movie. I mean, maybe it feels really realistic to a lot of people because in the real world, all of our families have issues and we're all trying to figure it out. And so maybe that's one of the reasons that this movie did so well. Anyway, sorry, so this is my next spread, and this is my habit tracker and my brain dump, and I decided to paint Luisa and Dolores. Like I said, Luisa's probably my favorite. I love how emotional she is because I am such an emotional person, and I love that she just shows it. And when she is emotional, it seems like she doesn't care that she's being emotional because she doesn't feel like she has to be perfect necessarily, but she feels like she always has to be strong. Like, she has to be able to lift everything, move everything, and do every task that's required of her, even if it's not something that's necessarily heavy. You know, it seems like they rely on Luisa to just do tasks simply because she's the strong one, and that's kind of hard too. Like, that's a hard reality to face. I've definitely experienced a bit of that myself sometimes, and it's hard. And I love how Luisa just keeps trying, but I love that she lets it out. You know, she just explains how much it hurts her, and she's just so emotional with her family, and I love that. I feel like a lot of people can't always be emotional around their family and they can't show it, but Luisa just lets it out. Like, she's like, you know what, I need to cry, so I'm gonna cry, and I just love it. And so on my brain dump, we have Dolores, and I really liked Dolores, but we just didn't get to see much of her. I wish there was more content with her. Like, I just feel like not much happened. And the one thing that still bothers me is when she said at the end of the movie that she could hear Bruno in the walls and she knew he was there the whole time, and yet she doesn't say anything. The only explanation I can think of is that she's terrified of Abuela and that's why she never said anything, which is the only thing that makes sense in my mind. But yeah, I would hate her power though. Oh my god, can you imagine being able to hear everything? That seems more like a curse than a blessing. Like, if you can't like shut it off, you know, like if you could have selective hearing, then that would be cool, but it doesn't seem like she has selective hearing. It seems very much like she can hear anything and everything, and that just sounds like a nightmare, especially living with your entire family. Like, how do you sleep at night? I mean, she said that she heard Luisa's eye twitching at night. I didn't know an eye twitching even made a sound, so that just sounds traumatizing to live with. Like, I could not do that power. Anyway, so we're finally on to my weeklies, and I'm still using the same setup for now. I don't really fill in my meal tracker as much as I used to, but for now I'm still trying it because I'd like to fill it in. And I decided to color code each weekly with the character that I'm drawing on each spread. And so this one is Antonio, and I mean, Antonio's world is like every color because his bedroom's literally a rainforest. But I felt like the yellow and the green went well with the toucans on his arms, so that's why I decided to do that. But yeah, I loved Antonio. He was so adorable, and I loved his ceremony, especially when the birds just started talking to him. And his room is beautiful. Like, his room kind of looked like living in Tarzan's world, and I just loved it. And I love animals. Oh my god, can you imagine having all these little animal friends and you can actually talk to them? Like, imagine being able to talk to your pet. Like, that just sounds amazing. And I don't really know how useful his power necessarily is, because I mean, their powers are supposed to help the people. So like, how does talking to animals help? Like, are you gonna tell the chickens in advance that you're gonna kill and eat them? Like, what is the point of his power? And then it makes me wonder, will he become a vegetarian or something? Because like, are you gonna be able to hear these animals in the village that don't want to be killed and then they're going to be killed? Like, okay, I am going in a rabbit hole of theories right now, and this sounds terrible, but it's just the first thing that comes to my mind. Like, talking to animals is interesting, but like, you're able to understand every single animal. So how do you feel about eating animals now? Like, it's just very interesting to me. Let me know if you guys have thought about that with Antonio, because that's one of the things I think about. And I just don't know what his power would be used for. Like, in what way would it be useful? I mean, like, okay, maybe if they have cows and they milk the cows, maybe he would need to like herd the cows to one area, and maybe it would help that he can speak to them. But that just seems kind of too simple. Like, I just can't imagine what his power would be used for. So yeah, let me know what your theories are. So for my next weekly, I drew Peppa, and I love Peppa's singing and dancing. Like, her dancing is literally so beautiful, and I think her voice is probably my favorite. Well, maybe besides Louisa, because Louisa's singing voice is also really cool. But I loved Peppa's singing voice in We Don't Talk About Bruno, and I just love how musical she is. I feel like, I mean, Bruno's not that musical, and then Julieta just like is kind of there. Like, her personality's not like, I don't know, like as big as Peppa's, and I just love Peppa's energy. Like, and I love her hair. It's very interesting. It's like curly in a braid, and I don't know, I really love her, and I really wanted to paint her while she was dancing. Also, you'll see that her mouth will end up looking really wonky, but I fixed it off camera because that's what happens sometimes when you have a tiny drawing. So yeah. But anyway, let's talk about Peppa's power. What use is that? I mean, it seems like her ability to control the weather is completely influenced by her emotions. Like, she doesn't choose for it to rain or be stormy. It just happens depending on her mood. So how does that help? I mean, like, okay, if the village needs like more water or rain, you know, for the crops, what does she do? Does she just like make herself sad so that it rains in the village and then the crops get more water? Like, tell me what you think Peppa's power could be used for and how it's useful, because I literally can't think of anything. And now let's talk about Bruno. So his power is very interesting, and I actually think his is one of the most useful, but I do see his power as being a curse, because seeing into the future, I think, ruins the present. Because, I mean, imagine if you could look into the future and see all the bad things that can happen to you and your family. And I know that Bruno doesn't necessarily see bad things in the future. He can see good and bad things. But I would hate to see bad things in the future ahead of time. The only benefit is that you can then think of how to avoid them. Like, what could you do to change that outcome? But then I feel like you'll be so obsessed and you'll be living in the future, in a sense, rather than living in the present day. And if you live your entire life focusing on how to change something in the future that you're not 100% sure is even going to happen, like, how are you supposed to enjoy your life? So like, I understand why he didn't want to do visions anymore, but I don't know how his visions would necessarily be useful to everyone in the village. I mean, maybe if he could see like, will the village still have like food and water in like the next 10 years? Like, yeah, that can be useful. But yeah, Abuela definitely wanted Bruno to look more personally into the future, and just saw the whole family falling apart and he didn't know what to make of it. So yeah, it's very interesting. I wouldn't want his power because I don't want to see the future that closely. And next we have Julieta, whose power I think is the most useful, like the absolute most useful power out of everyone. Also, I'm sorry, I don't know where the footage is of me painting her dress. I just couldn't find it anywhere, so I'm sorry you don't get to see it, but I painted it in the same technique as the other outfits, so I hope that helps. But yeah, her power, I mean, as long as she makes you a meal, you'll be healed no matter what's going on. But the only thing that makes me question about that is, does that mean Abuela will never die? Because let's say Abuela, I mean, she's elderly, right? Let's say she starts having a condition or an issue, you know, because when you're elderly, you start, you know, getting into that stage where you're gonna die. And what happens? Can she just be healed, or is that the exception? Can Julieta not heal you from illnesses? It just makes me curious, but her power is definitely incredibly useful. Like, if anyone has a broken arm, like that guy, which was really creepy, how they showed his arm. But yeah, like, any injury can be healed, and that way people don't have to suffer physically as much, which I think is really cool. But anyway, that is the end of this video. If you are still here, please leave a fire emoji down below so that I know that you're a real one. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm so sorry I made you wait so long, but I'm really grateful that you're all patient with me, and I can't wait to film more setups for the rest of the year. So anyway, I'll see you all in the next one.